Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into the world of, well, a really profound figure, John Ruysbroeck, often called one of the greatest mystics ever known.
He really is. And it's great we're using Evelyn Underhill as our guide here.
Exactly. Her book on him and, of course, her classic Mysticism. They're sort of our primary lens.
Mhm.
And our mission, really, for this deep dive is to dig past the surface stuff, to pull out the core insights from Ruysbroeck's life, his vision.
Yeah, find out what made it stick, what made it so enduring.
Right. And crucially, how those insights might, give you a shortcut to being well-informed, maybe even resonate with your own life today.
And what's so interesting is how Underhill frames him. She was, of course, a huge figure in mysticism studies herself.
Oh, absolutely.
She doesn't paint Ruysbroeck as some kind of, spiritual outlier, completely disconnected.
No.
Instead, she shows someone who brilliantly fused deep tradition with incredibly personal lived experience.
That's key. So we'll look at the history, the context.
For sure. But more than that, pinpoint those universal insights.
Yeah.
The stuff that still speaks to us now, centuries later. It feels surprisingly relevant.
It really does. And that distinction is so important right from the start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you hear a name like Ruysbroeck and maybe you picture, I don't know, ignorant monk off in a cave somewhere.
Right, stumbling onto truth in isolation. That's the stereotype.
But Underhill just blows that idea up. She makes it so clear his greatness wasn't about being disconnected or, untrained.
Quite the opposite, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What set him apart was this incredible ability to, as she puts it, take precept into action and to completely actualize in his own experience the high vision of the soul's relation to the divine reality. He don't just think about it.
He lived it.
He lived it.
Yeah.
So born 1293, little village in Belgium, Ruysbroeck. But his start was, well, pretty unconventional. Ran away from home at 11.
Just 11. Wow.
Yeah, headed straight for Brussels.
And that's where things really started to form for him, right? He was taken in by his uncle.
John Hinkert, yeah, a canon at St. Gudule Cathedral.
But it wasn't your typical clerical setup, was it?
Not at all. Hinkert and another canon there, Francis van Codenberg, they'd basically renounced worldly stuff.
Oh, okay.
They were living this life dedicated to, spiritual practice, renunciation. Underhill describes that home as just soaked in love, governed by faith, renunciation, humility.
Wow. Like a crucible for spiritual growth.
Exactly. And what's amazing is, even as a kid, Ruysbroeck showed this astonishing aptitude for religious ideas.
Yeah.
A real passion, a clarity that got noticed.
So it wasn't just book smarts. It was something deeper.
Yeah, like an intuitive understanding. It just clicked with the whole vibe of that house.
So he wasn't just plucked from obscurity. He grew out of this really fertile ground.
Right. How does Underhill connect that, though, his personal story, to the bigger picture of mystical thought?
That's where Underhill is just brilliant. She shows he didn't just pop up in a vacuum. He really benefited from this long line of Christian theologians. They provided the intellectual framework for his own deep insights.
Okay, so he had foundations to build on.
Exactly. She describes how these great mystics sometimes appear, almost like alchemists. They gather up and fuse together in the crucible of the heart, all these different threads from people before them.
Fusing things together, I like that.
But here's the key bit.
Yeah.
They don't just repeat stuff. They add the tincture of their own rich experience.
Oh, the tincture.
Yeah. So the vision becomes intensely personal, but somehow also universal. Ruysbroeck is a perfect example. He knew the theology, but he brought this fire, this clarity from his own life, his own experience.
Making it uniquely his, but also for everyone.
Precisely. That mix of inherited wisdom and personal revelation, that's what makes him so powerful.
That phrase, tincture of his own rich experience, really sticks. And what's so striking is how practical that experience was, how integrated with just daily life.
Yeah, he wasn't off on a mountaintop for decades.
No. For 26 years, starting in 1317 when he became a priest, he was a working chaplain at the cathedral.
26 years.
Right. A conscientious one, too. This wasn't a life of just quiet meditation. It was engaged, serving the community.
Finding God in the world, not away from it.
Exactly. And his writings really hammer this home, balancing that intense inner life of devotion with a life of service, what he calls action.
Action.
Underhill puts it so well. She says, action is of the very essence of human reality.
Okay.
Where the inner life is genuine and strong, the outer life will reflect the curve on which it moves. For human consciousness is a unit, capable of reacting to and synthesizing two orders.
Synthesizing two orders, not seeing them as separate.
Right, not an unresolved dualism. The big insight for us, maybe, is that everyday action wasn't just something you do after you get spiritual. For him, it was part of the path itself.
A pathway, even with all the incessant distractions, as she calls them.
Yes, those distractions were part of it.
That's huge, because we so often see those things, inner reflection, outer work, as being in conflict, don't we?
Totally, like you have to choose.
So how did Underhill see him? Well, using those distractions.
Yeah.
Did he just put up with them, or was it more involved?
She suggests it was way more involved. He didn't just tolerate them, he integrated them.
Oh.
His journey during those years, age 26 to 52, he was deep into contemplation with his uncle in Kudenberg.
Right.
But at the same time, navigating this busy but inconspicuous life of a priest.
Juggling both.
And she says it was specifically during these years and in the midst of incessant distractions that he passed through the great oscillations of consciousness which mark the mystic way.
Wow. So the distractions were actually part of the process, fuel for the fire.
Seems like it. The friction helped. Underhill thinks that by the end of that period, he'd moved from being, in his words, a faithful servant to becoming a God-seeing man.
All while still doing the daily grind.
All while still immersed in it. It kind of sanctifies the ordinary, doesn't it?
It really does. It challenges our whole modern habit of splitting things up. This is my spiritual time. This is my work time.
Yeah, putting things in boxes.
Ruysbroeck's life just says, no, it's all one piece. The friction of the world can actually sharpen the soul. And interestingly, that balance seems to stretch into his connection with nature, too.
Ah, right. The next chapter.
Yeah, around 1343, he's about 50. He makes another big move. Him, Hinkart, Kutenberg, they relocate to this old hermitage, Groenendael.
Which literally means green valley.
Exactly, out in the forest of Soignes near Brussels. The idea was, a quiet retreat, solitude.
But that didn't quite pan out, did it?
Well, not in terms of it staying quiet. His reputation was just too big by then. People knew about his wisdom, his sanctity.
The spiritual director people sought out?
Right. So this quiet little hermitage, within 5 years, is a buzzing Augustinian monastery.
Wow. Attracting people from all over Europe, apparently?
Yeah, imagine the energy there.
Yeah.
Scholars, seekers.
Must have been incredible. Yet even with all that activity, he still found his quiet time.
He did. Groenendael still gave him long stretches for contemplation. Often, the story goes, sitting under his favorite tree.
Finding that profound absorption in God, even with a busy community around him.
Yeah, it shows that ability again, doesn't it, to find solitude, even in the midst of things.
It does.
And what's really fascinating here, and Underhill points this out, is how, like a lot of great mystics, as he got nearer to divine reality, he drew nearer to nature too.
Ah, interesting connection.
It's like his vision expanded both inwards and outwards. He started seeing the divine reflected everywhere in the natural world.
So it wasn't just about transcendence pulling away from the world.
No, Underhill says it fits his ideal of the contemplative perfectly. You go up, you get this simple vision of God transcendent. And then you come back, in a sense, and you find God's image reflected in all life.
That's beautiful.
And his writing is full of it. These vivid bits about the spring, summer, and autumn of the fruitful soul. He talks about growth all the time.
Uses nature as a metaphor.
More than metaphor, maybe. He draws lessons from ants and bees, their diligence. It's like he saw nature as this living, breathing parable for how the soul works.
That's a great way to put it, a living parable. Did Underhill think it was just symbolic for him, though? Or did he actually feel, the divine in the trees, the bees?
She definitely suggests it was more direct than just symbols. For Ruysbroeck, nature wasn't just like the divine. It was like a thin veil you could almost see the divine through.
Ah, transparency.
Exactly. His contemplation sharpened his senses, maybe, allowed him to perceive God in everything. Creation reflecting the creator.
That integrated view again. Transcendent and immanent together.
That's a real hallmark of his thought, and apparently it showed even when he was old, famous. Visitors always talked about the peace and joy of his countenance.
Humble, good-humored, too, they said.
Yeah, just radiating it. Stayed sharp, engaged right to the end. Died December 2nd, 1381. He was 88.
Wow, 88. In his beloved Groenendael.
Still had that clear spiritual vision, his vigor and eagerness of soul.
What a life, truly lived. And thinking about his legacy, his writings, there's something else Underhill highlights that was, well, pretty radical for the 14th century.
What's that?
His language choice. He didn't write in Latin.
Ah, right. The church language, the language of scholars.
Exactly. He wrote in Flemish, the everyday language, the vernacular.
Which was huge.
It really was. It wasn't just practical, it was a statement. It meant his deep, sometimes really complex ideas weren't just for the educated elite, they were for, well, for everyone.
It basically democratized mystical thought, didn't it? Open the doors.
Yeah.
And Underhill stresses that his writings weren't just theory, they were founded on experience. And this is crucial they deal with an insight to experience.
Insight to experience.
Yeah. He wasn't just talking about it, he was trying to spark it in the
Well,
reader. His audience wasn't just professors.
who was he writing for them?
Underhill says, anyone who felt those stirrings of a special grace, that call of a superhuman love, didn't matter about their education or job.
So hermits, priests, nuns,
Yep, but also ardent souls still in the world who were trying to live the one real life.
people like us, May, trying to live that one real life.
Exactly. A practical guide for anyone on the path.
But given how ineffable some of these mystical concepts are describing God, the Godhead, how did writing in everyday Flemish actually help get those ideas across? Didn't it risk making them seem less profound or something?
That's the genius of it, I think. By using the vernacular, he kept the focus squarely on the experience itself, not on fancy theological terms.
Bypassing the jargon.
Right, he talks about God, the Godhead, this abyss of pure being. But listen to the images he uses. Underhill pulls them out. Simplicity and one-foldedness,
Okay.
inaccessible height and fathomless depth, incomprehensible breadth and eternal length.
Wow, paradoxes.
Exactly. A dim silence and a wild desert. These aren't meant to be neatly defined intellectual concepts.
No, they feel different.
They're meant to be felt, apprehended directly, maybe beyond concepts. The everyday language becomes this direct line. It strips away the intellectual armor and invites you into the raw reality he's pointing at.
Letting the ineffable hit you straight in the heart, not just the head.
Got it.
Yeah.
It connects on that deeper level.
That really is the challenge and the beauty, isn't it? Using words to point beyond words.
Yeah.
Which brings us, I guess, to the absolute peak of his teachings, what Underhill calls the superessential life.
The ultimate goal.
Yeah, the soul-reaching glory, that direct transformative union with God. There's this one quote Underhill includes from Ruysbroeck about this. It honestly just stopped me cold. It's breathtaking.
I think I know the one you mean. It is incredibly powerful. Lay it on us.
Okay. Ruysbroeck says, when we soar up above ourselves and become, in our inward striving towards God, so simple that the naked love in the heights can lay hold on us, there where love cherishes love, above all activity and all virtue, that is to say, in our origin, wherefrom we are spiritually born, then we cease, and all that is our own die into God.
Die into God, that phrase. It's intense.
It is, he continues, and in this death we become hidden sons of God and find in ourselves a new life, and that is eternal life.
Finding a new life in that death, that's the key, isn't it? Because dying into God could sound, well, frankly, terrifying, like annihilation.
Right, but that's not how Underhill reads it at all, is it? How does she help us see it as transformation, not just ending?
She's very clear it's not about negation, not about losing yourself in a destructive sense. It's about shedding the small self, the limited ego-bound self.
The self that clings and fears.
Exactly. Shedding that to make room for something infinitely bigger, more real. It's losing the limitations to find the depth.
So it's not becoming less, it's becoming radically more authentic, more eternal.
Precisely. That's the heart of the superessential life. It's this ultimate shift in consciousness, going beyond the ordinary self. And you see echoes of this across so many traditions, not just Christian mysticism.
That transcendence of the ego.
Yeah. Experiencing a reality that feels both ancient, like that origin he mentions, but also completely new, the new life. And for him, it wasn't static. It wasn't just achieving a state and staying there.
No.
It was dynamic, like becoming one with the divine, but still somehow distinct. Underhill uses the image of a river flowing into the sea. It joins the ocean, but still has its own current within it.
Participation, not just absorption.
A continuous participation in that divine essence.
So if we bring this back to our own lives today, this idea of the superessential life, this dying into God to become a hidden son of God, how might we even begin to approach that? Not just as a metaphor, but practically, to find that deeper origin in our own experience?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And maybe the enduring gift of reading someone like Ruysbroeck. For us, now, maybe dying into God translates to a really profound surrender.
Surrender of what?
of the ego's constant noise, its demands, its attachments, the need to control everything, the need for validation, identifying with just the surface stuff.
Letting go of who we think we are.
Exactly. Letting go of the roles, the masks, what society tells us we should be, to actually encounter that deeper, authentic self, which Ruysbroeck would say is fundamentally rooted in the divine.
And practically, how do you do that surrender?
Well, it could involve different things for different people. Maybe deep self-inquiry, asking, who am I really beneath all this? Maybe practices of radical acceptance, letting things be as they are without fighting them.
Or just cultivating humility.
Definitely. Humility, openness, being willing to have your neat ideas about reality challenged. It's about making space inside, not by adding more stuff, but by letting go of what's blocking the view, what's obscuring our true nature, allowing that connection to emerge.
Making space. I like that. So, bringing it all together then, what does this mean for us right here, right now?
Well,
John Ruysbroeck, seen through Underhill's eyes, gives us this incredibly powerful, integrated picture, doesn't he?
you really do.
Weaving together the inner spiritual journey with a very active outward life. His whole life story shows that deep spirituality doesn't require escaping the world.
No, it can be rooted in tradition, yet fiercely personal and accessible.
Yeah, we saw that balance of contemplation and action, his amazing connection to nature as divine reflection, and that revolutionary choice to write for everyone. And ultimately, he points towards this superessential life, this huge transformation that somehow still feels relevant, still speaks to that deeper part of us.
Absolutely. And if we take his emphasis on the unity of experience seriously,
Yeah.
his legacy really challenges us, doesn't it?
Okay.
To stop splitting our lives up, to stop seeing inner work and outer action as separate boxes. It kind of pushes us to ask, in your own life, your own search for meaning or connection. How could you weave those threads together more tightly? Your inner reflections and your outer engagements.
How can they feed each other?
Exactly. And how can that simple vision of God transcendent that Ruysbroeck touched, how can that actually show up, be reflected in the all life around you, in the ordinary moments of your day?
That's the real integration.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is, what part of this deep dive, maybe it's the Green Valley, maybe the busy cathedral, maybe that idea of superessential union, what part might spark something in you, inspire you to look just a bit closer at that harmony between your own spirit and your daily life?
And maybe even, nurture it a little more intentionally.
Exactly. Something to think about.